Imagine this. You're in control. You say the right words, play the right moves, and manipulate emotions to your advantage. It feels like winning. But here's the truth. You're not actually in control. You're setting off a chain reaction that you can't predict, and sooner or later that game turns on you. Consider the story of a man named Jason. Charismatic, confident, and always a step ahead, he thought he could control the emotions of those around him. A master of persuasion, he used flattery to get what he wanted, twisted words to shift blame, and played with trust as if it were a deck of cards. For a while it worked. Friends admired him, colleagues respected him, and opportunities seemed endless. But then, cracks began to show. The very people who once admired him started to distance themselves. Trust eroded. And when he needed support the most, he found himself alone. Because once someone realizes they've been played, they don't just walk away, they remember. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true power isn't about controlling others, it's about mastering ourselves. Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In the same way, if you manipulate someone's emotions, you set a precedent. You become responsible for the consequences that follow. Have you ever been in a situation where someone played with your emotions? How did it feel? And more importantly, if you've ever been on the other side, did it truly feel like a victory? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If winning at someone else's emotional expense seems like a short-term victory, what about the long-term consequences? The cost of playing with feelings is often unseen until it's too late. Let's take Sarah's story. She was in a relationship where her partner, Mark, often used emotions as leverage. When he wanted something, he'd guilt trip her. When she questioned him, he'd shift the blame. And when she finally had enough, she left. But here's the twist. Mark wasn't just losing Sarah. Over time, he lost his ability to form real connections. People noticed his patterns. Friends withdrew. His reputation suffered. And eventually, he found himself isolated, not because of one mistake, but because of repeated choices that eroded trust. Seneca once said, "What is harder than rock or softer than water? Yet soft water hollows out hard rock." Persevere. The way we treat others slowly shapes the life we live. Manipulating others might feel like strength, but in reality, it's like carving a path through stone. The consequences are permanent. Studies in psychology reveal that trust once broken is nearly impossible to fully restore. When people feel manipulated, their brain registers it as a betrayal, and human nature tells us to avoid threats, meaning that once you're perceived as someone who plays with emotions, you're marked. Think about the relationships in your life, personal or professional. Do you build trust or do you test it? Let me know in the comments. What do you value most in someone you trust? Manipulating emotions doesn't just affect one person. It spreads, like ripples in water, touching more lives than you might realize. And sometimes those ripples come back as waves. Think of corporate scandals, companies that deceived employees, customers, or investors for short-term gain. At first they seemed untouchable. Profits soared, public trust held. But then the truth surfaced. Take Enron, for example. Executives manipulated financial data to make the company look stronger than it was. They played with the emotions of shareholders, employees, and even the government. But when the deception unraveled, the company collapsed. Thousands lost their jobs. Lives were ruined. And those responsible? They didn't just lose money, they lost everything, including their reputations. Marcus Aurelius warned, "What we do now echoes in eternity." A single choice may seem insignificant in the moment, but its effects can last a lifetime. Reputation is like glass. Once shattered, it's never the same. Studies show that people who feel betrayed by emotional manipulation develop long-term distrust, not just toward the person who wronged them, but in future relationships, businesses, and even society. Before you act, ask yourself, if this choice were made public, how would it reflect on me? Would I be proud of my actions a year from now? Let me know in the comments, what do you think is the biggest consequence of breaking trust? If playing with emotions is a losing game, what's the alternative? The answer lies in something far more powerful than manipulation: integrity. Consider Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors of all time. He built his empire not through deception, but through trust. Buffett is known for his straightforwardness. He doesn't promise unrealistic returns or manipulate people into doing business with him. Instead, he values honesty and transparency. His approach has earned him something more valuable than money: lifelong loyalty. People trust him, and that trust compounds over time, just like his investments. The Stoics believed that true strength lies in character, not control. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A person with integrity doesn't need to manipulate others to succeed. They let their actions speak for themselves. Studies show that people with high emotional intelligence and integrity experience deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Their success lasts longer because it's built on a foundation that doesn't crumble under pressure. Think about the most respected person you know. What qualities make them trustworthy? Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation on what real strength looks like. The biggest risk of playing with the emotions of others isn't just losing their trust. It's losing something far greater: your own sense of self. There was once a man named Daniel who prided himself on always staying ahead. He knew how to say the right things, how to twist words to his advantage, and how to make people believe in illusions. At first he felt powerful, always in control, but over time something changed. He had lied so often that he could no longer separate truth from deception. He played with emotions so much that he no longer understood his own. He became trapped in the very game he created. One day he looked in the mirror and realized he didn't recognize the person staring back at him. Seneca warned, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." When you rely on manipulation, you cheat yourself out of growth. You never develop the resilience that comes from honest effort. When you make deception a habit, it becomes your identity. And when your identity is built on falsehoods, it's only a matter of time before everything collapses. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. Will you chase short-term wins at the cost of long-term loss? Or will you choose integrity, knowing that true strength doesn't come from control but from character? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever encountered someone who played with emotions? How did it end? Let's start a conversation. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Let's keep growing together, one lesson at a time.